What is going on, Trash Talkers? We are back with another episode for you. In today's episode, I am giving you my final mock draft for the 2021 NFL Draft. That's right, we are one day away, and I'm very excited. Nick is going to criticize and complain. He's going to ask questions and clarify why I had certain picks. But overall, sit back, relax, and enjoy. This is my final mock draft for the 2021 NFL Draft. All that and much more coming your way right now! What's going on, Trash Talkers? If you're planning on watching the NFL Draft this Thursday, you're going to want to check us out on Colorcast, a totally new social audio app for sports fans. We'll be live on Colorcast during the entire first round of the draft, giving our hot takes, talking about the teams, the players, the pick, jockeying, and everything in between. What's really cool is that you can weigh in too. If you download the app, you can text chat with us and ask us any burning questions you might have, talk to us about the draft, so on and so forth. Yes, really. Ask away. You can chat with us. Spend draft night with us on the Colorcast app this Thursday, April 29th. It's going to be an absolute blast. I can't wait. See you there soon. All right, Nick, we are one day away from the first night of the NFL Draft. I can't really contain my excitement. I hope you're as excited as I am because I am just ready to go. I might not sleep tonight. It might be that crazy.
Yeah, I'm so excited for this. I'm exhausted. I have done so much research for leading up to this for the last few months. It's absolutely absurd. You would laugh at how much I've done, but look, I am absolutely excited to finally get results. I'm tired of the mock drafts at this point. I just want to see what actually is going to happen. Who's going number 3? Who's going to be taken by the Baltimore Ravens at, in their first 2 picks? There's just so many things going on in this draft. I can't wait to see it finally unfold in front of us.
All right, well, let's get to it. Starting off with the Jacksonville Jaguars at number 1. All right, at number 1, obviously we have Trevor Lawrence going to the Jacksonville Jaguars. At number 2, we have Zach Wilson to the New York Jets. At number 3, Mac Jones going to the San Francisco 49ers. At 4, Kyle Pitts to the Atlanta Falcons. And number 5, Jamar Chase to the Cincinnati Bengals.
Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson, those are gimmies at this point. We both know that they're going 1 and 2. Mac Jones, it's a little bit of surprise, but it's also not because we know that it's him or Trey Lance at this point. And you could definitely make the argument that Mac Jones is a smarter quarterback. He's going to fit much better in Kyle Shanahan's system, and they're just going to work much better together. Kyle Pitts seems like the obvious choice right now with the rumors that Julio Jones is about to be traded away because simply they can't afford him. They have been barely cap compliant since the league year started. They have been scraping tooth and nail to stay in the black and not dip below the margins. But Kyle Pitts is going to be the guy that replaces Julio Jones eventually, and it becomes the spotlight of this offense. And Jamar Chase is going to be perfect back with his old quarterback, Joe Burrow. These two were an absolute tandem for the ages together at LSU, and I think they're going to bring some of that magic back together in Cincinnati.
Yeah, I love these picks, and I'm just going to harp on the Mac Jones pick a little bit here. We think that it's going to be Mac Jones or Trey Lance. That seems where Adam Schefter and Mel Kiper and Todd McShay and all these guys have said that this is it between these two. And I think Mac Jones, again, if you look at the quarterbacks that Kyle Shanahan has had his best success with, Matt Ryan, Kirk Cousins, Jimmy Garoppolo, all players that he has done extremely well with. Mac Jones is all of those players combined at such a young age, and I'm really excited for what he can bring to the San Francisco 49ers. I believe that they're in a win-now situation with the team that they currently have. Mac Jones is one of those players that can really just plug in and play right behind Jimmy Garoppolo if he starts to struggle, gets injured, whatever the case is. I think Mac Jones is going to be one of those guys that can just take over the reins really quickly. All right. At number 6, we have Devonta Smith with the Miami Dolphins. At number 7, we have Micah Parsons to the Detroit Lions. At number 8, we have the New England Patriots trading up with the Carolina Panthers for all the way up from 15 to select Justin Fields. At number 9, we have Penny Sewell going to the Denver Broncos. And at number 10, we have Patrick Surtain going to the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, Devonta Smith with the Miami Dolphins is an interesting one. And the only reason I don't care for this as much is because they just got Will Fuller on a multi-year deal and they put him alongside Devontae Parker, who's also on a long-term deal. So I think Devonta Smith as a 3 is just being greedy, and there are better positions that need to be filled for this team. Micah Parsons to the Detroit Lions makes a ton of sense. They need to fill so many holes. You might as well fix up the quarterback of the defense, like we've said many times. Get Micah Parsons. He's by far the best linebacker in this draft class. Justin Fields to the Patriots. Look, if they're going to trade up, it has to be 7 or 8. They do it here at 8. I love this pick. Makes a lot of sense. Penny Sewell to the Broncos is actually a very sneaky good pick for them, because you found out last year that Garrett Bowles is is the real deal at left tackle, but you're still trying to figure out right tackle. You got a veteran last season to fill at right tackle, and it was good for the time being, but you're not going to rely on somebody who's 35 years old to keep up with Drew Lock all day long. No, you're going to get the most athletic tackle in the draft, and Penny Sewell, who played a lot at right tackle in college, and he's going to really help Drew Lock become the quarterback they want him to be. And Patrick Surtain, this is a surefire pick for them unless somebody sneaks in ahead of him. But I love this pick. I think it's going to make a ton of sense. And him back with his old running mate makes the most sense.
Yeah, so starting off with Devonta Smith, I know that you talked about Will Fuller and Devontae Parker, but Devonta Smith with Tua Tagovailoa provides a security blanket, and with Will Fuller there, he has injury concerns, he has off the field concerns. Even though they gave him the long term deal, I think you can never have too many playmakers on the offensive side of the ball. What they lack in a running game, they're going to have in a vertical passing game. And that's what you get when you pair Devonta Smith with Will Fuller and Devontae Parker. I think that this three-headed monster at receiver paired with Mike Gesicki at tight end is going to be incredible for this offense to be able to move the ball and really score at big clips at a time. I think that Devonta Smith is going to be the difference maker for this offense, whether they can contend in the AFC, or if they don't have a playmaker like Devonta Smith, they may not be able to even make the playoffs, especially with the New England Patriots coming up with Justin Fields. I think Justin Fields is a huge get for the New England Patriots. When you take a look at the quarterbacks that they've had, obviously it was Tom Brady for the last 20 years and then Cam Newton last year. We saw glimpses of what this offense can be with a mobile quarterback. And I think Josh McDaniels has a year under him working with a mobile quarterback. Now you get a guy who runs a 4.44 40, and you say, whoa, this guy's fast and he can throw the ball just like Cam Newton can. I'm all in. I'll take Justin Fields at number 8. Penny Sewell obviously makes a ton of sense with the Denver Broncos, as you mentioned. Patrick Surtain, I think, is just a lock at number 10. At number 11, I have Kwity Paye going to the New York Giants. At number 12, Jalen Waddle going to the Philadelphia Eagles. At number 13, I have Rashawn Slater going to the Los Angeles Chargers. At number 14, I have Greg Rousseau going to the Minnesota Vikings. And at number 15, I have the Washington football team taking Trey Lance. Now, this is the pick that the Patriots had traded with the Carolina Panthers. I have the Panthers trading back once again with the Washington football team.
Wow, there's a lot going on here. Let's start at the top. Kwity Paye to the Giants. It's an interesting pick, and it's a pick I like personally, but I just don't think that there is any word that they are even looking at going edge rusher in the first round. So I think that they're looking somewhere else, but I think it'd be a perfect pairing, and I think he'd work really well in Joe Judge's system. Jalen Waddle to the Eagles. That's an interesting one because now you're putting Jalen Waddle with Jalen Reagor and Jalen Hurts. So you're now just going to confuse every commentator from here to, the moon. So, good job with that, Michael. But I think that he'll work out in the system, and it's definitely a position of need. If Jalen Hurts is going to be successful, they definitely need to get him more weapons than just Jalen Reagor. Rashawn Slater seems like a lock. They need a left tackle. Whoever's the best available, they're going to take. For the Chargers are So I like the pick here. Greg Rousseau, I do not like this pick. I don't think that this is a good pick for them. I don't even think I think he's such a project, and he even showed at his pro day that he is still very raw, that a guy like Mike Zimmer, who's in the hot seat, cannot afford to take a flyer on a guy like Greg Rousseau and say he's going to be a dominant day one starter. There's guys like Aziz Ojulari or Jason Elway, guys like that who are better prepared to start day one and produce at a much higher level than Greg Rousseau is. So I think they could go edge, but I think Greg Rousseau is just a little bit of a reach here. And then Trey Lance, if Washington's moving up, this is a huge move for them. I like this a lot. I think that he could work really well in that system. Now they got some extra weapons in Curtis Samuel and Adam Humphries. I think that's perfect on top of Scary Terry. Trey Lance will have a ton working for him on this team.
I like Queedy Pay here. I know you talked about the fact that there's been no word that the Giants are looking at defensive end or edge rusher, but a lot of what Joe Judge has learned has come from Bill Belichick. And if you know one thing about Bill Belichick, the way they work is in the dark. They may lead you one way, but they may be looking to go the opposite. I think that Joe Judge understands his team needs. He
Joe
understands
Judge
that
does. Joe Judge does, not Dave Gettleman. Joe,
right, but Joe Judge still has a say in what happens, and I believe Dave Gettleman and Joe Judge are going to work together and get Queedy Pay. They're going to end up doing what is right. Jalen Waddle with Jalen Rager and Jalen Hurts is going to be very interesting. I didn't really think about that until you mentioned it, but it doesn't matter because Jalen Hurts and Jalen Waddle actually played together. So I think he's going to get some familiarity back in this offense. And like you said, if they want Jalen Hurts to succeed, you have to get him some help. Jalen Rager and Travis Fulgham are just not going to cut it at the wide receiver position. And you don't know what's going to happen with Zach Ertz. You got Dallas Goddard, and there's just a lot of things up in the air with this offense, especially on the offensive line. Jalen Waddle will provide some stability and some comfort for Jalen Hurts. And next, looking at Greg Rousseau, listen, there was so much hype around Greg Rousseau coming into this draft season when everybody was talking about, he may be a top 5 pick, he may be a top 7 pick, and then he slowly started to fall down draft boards. Well, I think a lot of people have said a lot of negative things about Greg Rousseau, talking about how, he's a project and he needs to work on all of these different things in his game. The game film has not lied to you. What he puts out on the field is real, and that shows me that he's going to be a very productive player in the NFL. What he tests at his pro day and how he interviews does not matter. It's all about what he showed on his game film. And if you're telling me he's dropping because teams are just looking at what he did at his pro day and different testing like that, then I'd say you're not fit for your job. It's really that simple. And then to your point that Mike Zimmer's on the hot seat, he's not focused on the hot seat. If he gets fired, he gets fired, but he's there to build this team properly, and Greg Rousseau fills a massive need for them. They need an edge rusher and they need massive help on that side of the ball. I believe that Greg Rousseau is going to be that guy. And then finally, we have Washington football team coming up, drafting Trey Lance, who had fallen all this way. They don't have to give up too much, moving up from 19 to 15. They were sitting back, and all of a sudden Trey Lance started to fall to them. Then I figured one of these guys would start to fall just a little bit. Washington over Chicago makes the leap to get the quarterback of the future. At number 16, I have Christian Darrisaw going to the Arizona Cardinals. At number 17, Tevin Jenkins to the Las Vegas Raiders. At number 18, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah to the Miami Dolphins. At number 19, J.C. Horn to the Carolina Panthers. And at number 20, Rashad Bateman to the Chicago Bears.
Christian Darrisaw to the Cardinals didn't make sense 24 hours ago, but now that we learn that Marcus Gilbert, their right tackle, has now decided to retire, there's a glaring hole to fill the right tackle that is blocking Kyler Murray and this potential Super Bowl team. So Christian Darrisaw is a great pick that'll definitely help him as a day one starter and really help solidify that offensive line. Love that pick. Tevin Jenkins, another great pick to solidify this offensive line that has been completely restructured. He is the perfect fit at right tackle, played a lot there in college. Owusu Koromoa, him on this team, he is a Brian Flores guy through and through. This is a guy that will get in the trenches. He will play hard-nosed football for you. He's very versatile. He can play inside, outside. He's exactly what Brian Flores looks for in a player. J.C. Horn to the Panthers, I like this pick because they need a guy to replace James Bradbury. They don't have a guy right now that can really come in and be their number one corner to help against big receivers, and one of the hardest divisions in the NFL, facing Julio and Mike Evans and Mike Thomas twice a year. I mean, that's extremely tough, and you need a guy you can rely on to cover those guys. Rashad Bateman, I love this pick. I had him in my mock draft as well. If you haven't seen that, that was yesterday's video. Go take a look. But Rashad Bateman, he was a great pick. I think that he is going to be huge for the Chicago Bears. I think that he'll really work out in the system, and I think he has the potential to be Allen Robinson 2.0. So I think him learning from Allen Robinson himself will be a great tandem.
Yeah, just quickly, Christian Darrisaw. As soon as I saw the Marcus Gilbert news, I knew that they had to take a tackle. They could have waited and gone with Sam Cosmi or Liam Eichenberg or waited for one of those day two guys. I just didn't think that they saw that as the right opportunity. Get the guy that you want right now, and then focus on the minuscule holes that you have on your team. When Marcus Gilbert left, he was the most glaring need, and that's what I wanted to fill for them. Seeing as though he was a day one starter, Christian Darrisaw will end up being their next day one starter. Tevin Jenkins, this offensive line's gone through massive changes. They've held on to one out of the starting five that they had last year, and now Tevin Jenkins will come in, hopefully fill that Trent Brown role. He reminds me a lot of Trent Brown as well. I think he's going to be able to do a lot of the same things. And then, like you said, Owusu Koromoa to the Dolphins just makes a ton of sense here. I loved what he was able to do at Notre Dame, and I think he's going to be able to be a big thumper, especially with the loss of Kyle Van Noy in Miami. I think Jeremiah Owusu Koromoa is going to be able to help them out, whether it's on the outside or on the inside. Either way, he's going to be able to help them a lot. At number 21, I have Jalen Phillips going to the Indianapolis Colts. At number 22, I have Azeez Ojulari going to the Tennessee Titans. Number 23, I have Elijah Vera Tucker going to the New York Jets. At number 24, I have Najee Harris going to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And at number 25, I have Trayvon Merrick going to the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Jalen Phillips is a great fit for the Colts because Justin Houston and Jalen Phillips are very similar. They can put a hand in the ground, they can play outside and rush in a two technique. So I think that these two are very similar, and he'll work out in this system. I think that he'll be a great fit for them and be a great day one starter. Azeez Ojulari to the Titans, I think he could have a lot of potential in Mike Vrabel's system. I think that Vrabel's going to be working with a lot of talent right here. Him opposite Jeffrey Simmons will be great, but I think with the lack of cornerbacks, there's just going to be a bunch of wide open receivers, and the quarterback's going to be getting the ball out a little too quickly for even the best of the best at defensive end, including Azeez Ojulari. So I think there are some bigger holes on this defense, but nonetheless, it's a great pick. Elijah Vera Tucker to the Jets. Like, if he falls this far, he's an absolute must cop. They have to get a guy of this caliber, a guy who is so versatile that he can play every offensive line position. He can be put anywhere they want, and him at right tackle, a very athletic tackle for Zach Wilson, who's a very athletic quarterback, is exactly what you need. Najee Harris to the Steelers, they have a ton of holes, but I think they need to figure out this running back situation. Najee Harris will definitely help them, but we'll see how that's going to work with the loss of Bud Dupree on the defense, and then you're missing a left tackle and a center on the offensive line. Najee Harris, he fills one hole, but there's still many more that need to be taken care of. And then Trayvon Merrick, best safety by far in the draft. Definitely a big need for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Seems like a match made in heaven.
Yeah, Ojulari to the Titans just kind of screamed out to me. I feel like, Mike Vrabel's a little upset with how his outside linebackers and defensive ends really performed last year. I think that going out and getting Bud Dupree was a massive steal for them, and then getting Azeez Ojulari opposite him, having two of the fastest outside linebackers you possibly can. These guys are going to crash on opposing quarterbacks quickly, and I believe that they're going to focus on the back end of the defense. Richard Sherman's still available. They still have some corners that they can go out and get in free agency. They have some corners that they can go out and get in day two of the draft. I think Ojulari being on the board here really allowed for Mike Vrabel to stock up at a position where he knows how to coach up very, very well. And then just to talk about Najee Harris and the Steelers, I think that when you take a look at the way the Steelers are built, they haven't had a really good running back since Le'Veon Bell wore the black and gold. Now that James Conner moved on to Arizona, it looks like Najee Harris is going to have to pick up the slack. And if I know anything about Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers, these guys are hard-nosed, grind the football type of players. Ben Roethlisberger cannot throw the football 50 times a game. The Steelers will simply not be able to win. They cannot sustain success that way, as we saw last year. They won the first 11 games of the season, and then they lost 4 of their last 5 to round out the season. It's just not going to work out for them. Najee Harris is one of those guys that doesn't need an extreme offensive line in front of him. He needs an average offensive line in front of him, and he can do a ton of work. I think that the Steelers are going to focus on offensive line in day 2 of the draft. Getting Najee Harris now locks up that offensive piece that they're going to need, especially during a transition once Big Ben determines that he's going to retire. At number 26, I have Zavin Collins going to the Cleveland Browns. Number 27, I have Alex Leatherwood going to the Baltimore Ravens. At number 28, I have Caleb Farley going to the New Orleans Saints. At number 29, I have Kadarius Toney going to the Green Bay Packers. And at number 30, I have Sam Cosmi going to the Buffalo Bills.
Oh, I'd love to see that at the end. But let's start off with Zavin Collins to the Cleveland Browns. I like this pick a lot. I think that he offers a ton, and he's so versatile. They can put him pretty much anywhere, but they already have 2 outside linebackers, and they're looking for a Mike linebacker. Zavin Collins, look, if he can develop into that role, he played a little bit at Tulsa, and I think that if he has the potential to be a great Mike linebacker, but he's going to have a lot of work cut out for him this offseason to get up to par with the rest of this defense. Alex Leatherwood to the Baltimore Ravens. This is something I've seen a lot in the last few days, and look, he's a solid, big tackle, and I think that he'll fit really well on this team, and he's really good at pushing the line. You saw what he did for Najee Harris and how much they won and had success there. So I think he could really fit in well with this team. Caleb Farley, I see absolutely no way this guy falls this far. To 28, there's absolutely no shot. There's somebody that's going to move up to grab this guy. He's just too athletically gifted to say that he should drop all this way just because he had some small back procedure. I don't buy it. But Caleb Farley, if he falls this far, the biggest steal of the draft, he'll be the biggest steal I've ever seen in my life. Kadarius Toney to the Packers makes a ton of sense. He's the big burner, big speedster that Aaron Rodgers has not had, and a guy that I think Aaron Rodgers will fall in love with very quickly. He finally gets his guy. And my guy, Sam Cosmi to the Buffalo Bills, my rival, unfortunately, but I think that he'll fit perfectly with them. He'll add some key depth for them. They are a team that seems to lose offensive linemen throughout each season, and it can't hurt to have a little bit more depth that you can rely upon, especially when you're expected to make a deep playoff push.
Starting off at 26, I just looked at Zavin Collins and I looked at the Browns and I said, okay, first of all, I think it's just a match made in heaven. I've had it since the beginning. I think that the Browns know that he'd be a great fit for them. But also, I took a look at the Browns' defensive scheme, and it just seems like they go with smaller, more outside linebackers than an actual typical Mike linebacker. So I believe Zavin Collins has the ability to lead the defense. I think he can play a Mike linebacker position in the Cleveland Browns scheme. I think it's going to be a little different because he's not going to be rushing as much. He's going to have to play a little more coverage, but he's still going to be able to command the defense, and that's where he excelled at Tulsa. Alex Leatherwood, okay, when I took a look at the Baltimore Ravens, when I took a look at Orlando Brown Jr., who they just traded away, I said, okay, they have to fill that hole. Well, this guy reminds me a lot of Orlando Brown Jr., except he doesn't need to play left tackle in the NFL. This guy's willing to play whatever. He's, an offensive lineman. So I just believe that Alex Leatherwood is going to fill what they had planned for Orlando Brown Jr. I think he's going to be exactly what they wanted on the right side of the line. He's going to be able to push guys really well and really help them in the running game. Caleb Farley, I believe that Caleb Farley scared off a lot of teams when they couldn't test him out. They couldn't really see him at a pro day. They couldn't see him work on anything. They had to take the doctor's word that he got the green light and said, okay, but they haven't been able to see anything come from Caleb Farley. And I believe that after the back procedure and after his couple other procedures that he had, a couple of years ago, I think a lot of teams are scared off. He is going to be the one to watch where I think he's going to end up falling. That's where I have the Saints stopping that fall here at number 28 and saying, we have to get a guy that's going to be opposite Marshawn Lattimore, and he's going to be the perfect guy to actually get that done. Kadarius Toney, listen, Aaron Rodgers gets his guy, and then Sam Cosmi, he's going to fill a role with the Buffalo Bills where he's going to be a swing tackle for now, and then he's going to take over for the aging Deion Dawkins. He's going to be able to help them really well, and I like what he's going to be able to transition to as a long-term starter for the Buffalo Bills. At number 31, I have Terrace Marshall Jr. going to the Baltimore Ravens, and at number 32, rounding out the first round, I have Jason Elway going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Terrace Marshall Jr. to the Baltimore Ravens. This is definitely a need. They got their tackle, so their offensive line is set. Now you need to get another weapon for Lamar Jackson. Terrace Marshall does just that. He is a big-bodied receiver, something that Lamar Jackson has not had. He may have a big tight end in Mark Andrews, but now he has a big outside weapon that he can throw to. Hollywood Brown can roam free underneath, and I think this is really going to help evolve the offense for the Baltimore Ravens. Jason Elway, love this pick. Looks a little familiar to me, but I think that he pairs well with this team. His abilities and his athleticism are going to be perfect, especially for an aging JPP who will probably be retiring after this season, so he'll fit a need in the next year or so, and he'll help while they try to get back for another Super Bowl.
All right, well, that's going to do it for now. Thank you all for watching. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell. We go live every single day. That'll be all. Peace and love.